Man, what happened to Thor? He was bugged after Ragnarok. He got his Infinity War uniform. He was so hot. He got his tier 3. He was even hotter. And then, since then, he's kind of just been like a flame, slowly getting smaller and smaller until it goes out. Every tier 3 since Thor, besides maybe Ant-Man, has been as good or better than he has been. And even so many level 70s have taken over and basically eclipsed him. Scarlet Witch probably being one of the biggest, but even Psylocke, Gambit, he just doesn't do anything better than, or even as good, or even nearly as good as so many other characters. And I feel bad because the last thing that Thor was the best at in Marvel Future Fight was ABX, was the Universal Hero Day. And especially after Hyperion got his rework on the Universal Hero Day, it made it even better for Thor because he got that juicy 45%, and then because they're beard buddies, you've got the all attack, so it's 50% all attack, and with the Ghost Panther lead, he was cruising. I mean, even for me, without using a CTP of energy, with my Thor in the top 3,000, the top 4,000, I was rocking like 1.5, 1.6 million, so pretty close to 2 million. Very high grade build overall. Most of these uniforms are legendary or mythic. He's got all of the slots. All of the Urus are 5 stars. So I really went all in on his build. Basically, the only thing that's keeping his rank down right now is the type affinity, the type enhancement. But man, even with this build for Captain Marvel, which is a much higher build, a much higher growth score, but this is misleading because it does include this rank 5 universal type. So if you take this away, she's probably way lower than 3,000, and even though she's a fairly new tier 3 compared to Thor, if you look at my build, I have, 5-star, but also I have quite a few 4-star Uru, so that counts for that. Her skills are level 6, but then I've got a CTP of Destruction rather than what he has. And yeah, I have a Uniform Mythic as well, but I think this is a slightly worse build if it were not for the type enhancement. I mean, I've got basically the same build here on the ISO with the level 11. His is actually more awakened than hers is. He's just missing a couple stars, but it's pretty comparative. But then you check out the score, and I easily get 1.8 million. I can probably cap her at 2 million if I practice a little bit more, or if I were to switch this for a CTP of energy. She doesn't even need a CTP of rage to get 2 million on this day because of Ghost Panther's help. And Thor, man, even if I was going to give Thor a CTP of energy, he probably can't hit 2 million. Probably with my build, if this is hitting 1.6, honestly, the lightning damage is so underrated for Thor. Maybe he could hit 1.7 or 1.8, but he's still not hitting 2 mil. So what I wanted to do instead was a little experiment, because I feel bad for Thor, and I don't just want to keep flexing Captain Marvel. We get it. Captain Marvel is better than Thor. I understand. I want to give Thor one more shot. And I've got crystals, and I got you guys supporting me, watching all the videos, so we're going to unequip Thor's obelisk. That's right, this crit damage, lightning damage, 180. This isn't the best obelisk, so I almost am tempted to just delete it, but I don't want to. So we're gonna unequip it because it's still a very difficult obelisk to roll. Let's be real, to actually roll all of those stats with that kind of proc is not an easy feat. But you know what else is not an easy feat? Having multiple CTPs of rages, and that's exactly what I do have. So we're gonna give one to Thor, and I just want to see, man. Would Thor actually benefit from this? Because I know there are a lot of Thor fans out there, and maybe some of you still want to play with Thor in ABX because you don't play with him anywhere else, and maybe this will get him to 2 million. And if this gets him to 2 million, then you know what? I can keep my CTP of Destruction on Captain Marvel, possibly, or maybe I have to switch it anyways, but you know, it just adds a little bit more flexibility, and honestly, I don't want to stop using Thor. That's the thing. The other thing that I would have to cover now that I'm not going to, I just want to see what the score is first. His crit rate is way overcapped. It's 22%, and the crit damage is way low. The only thing I'm going to change before we dive into this is the crit rate here on the 5th gear. I'm going to roll this to crit damage. Crit damage. Yeah, there we go. That's a pretty good roll. So we switched that one around. That should bring it a little bit more in line. It's still overcapped, but instead of being 20% overcapped, it's only 10% overcapped, which is not the worst thing in the world. And then here you've got 171 crit damage, which is low. It could definitely be higher, but I would have to switch, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd have to switch 4 5-star Urus, and I'm not ready to do that just yet. If he's scoring, possibly 1.8, 1.85, if he's close now when I try this with Thor, then I will do it. If not, then I'm not going to. The other thing is, I actually don't like using using Hyperion because he has an additional 5th skill with Medusa, but the oh, but that's crit damage as well. Ooh, this is all attack, all defense. She gives him crit damage, but it's less all attack. I'm actually just gonna try this because you know what? There's no more proc, right? He's just got the CTP of Rage proc now. And one of the most difficult things, I was thinking about doing this originally as just a comparison between Captain Marvel and Thor, but I know Captain Marvel outscores Thor. But then I was thinking, well, what if I gave Thor the CTP of Rage instead of Captain Marvel? Well, Thor's biggest problem is that his CTP of Energy, or his Obelisk in my case, it procs too early sometimes, and his 5th skill just isn't ready. But if I can just spam skills, if it doesn't really matter what lands on the proc and what doesn't as much, then it will kind of even things out, right? Well, this is what I'm planning to see. This is what I'm hoping to see here. Will this apply the same sort of principles to a different character? Because then in that case, let's go, boys. We still have value for Thor. Thor is not completely useless. He hasn't been completely replaced, and it's looking really good right now. Actually, I didn't actually know what to expect going in and doing this, so I'm quite pleased right now. Well, it looks like we're gonna clock at least 600,000 when we do the first minute, which is pretty close to what I was getting. Oh, more 650. Let's go. Come on, 700. I just need to keep that bar up, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I proc the 5th skill at the beginning or in the middle or in the end of the 5 seconds. As long as it's within that 5 seconds, it doesn't really matter when, right? So I don't have to worry so much, and you can spam. And so characters who actually spam their skills are actually better suited for the... I mean, it doesn't matter what skill procs the CTP of Rage, because I'm going to get that buff regardless. And it's actually more important... Well, I just got blinded there. But it's more important to hit your attacks so you don't get blinded, and then not get guard broken as well, but also not get hit by the meteor. The meteors are the important thing. I guess the only thing, if you wanted to really min-max this this Thor gameplay, would be to yeah, it doesn't matter, I can hit this right at the end, that's beautiful, would be to not do the 5th skill when the CTP of Rage is not active. But otherwise, let's go. Let's just go. We're at 1.3 already. We're definitely on pace to clear 2 million right now. I'm quite hyped, if you can't tell. Come on, Thor. Let's go, baby. There is still use for my man, Odinson. .6, and it makes better use of his tier 3 skill as well, because the tier 3 skill doesn't do much damage, but with the 60% down, it actually does quite a bit more. I think we're gonna hit it. And you can see that tier 3 bites a lot more now when you hit with that proc. 1.5. Don't get blinded. It's gonna be close, actually. Hit the tier 3 skill, and we got it. 2 mil with Thor. This is the first time ever that I've hit 2 million with Thor. I'm actually really happy. And yeah, so this serves a few purposes. One, Thor's not dead yet. I mean, it's a steep price to pay to continue playing as Thor once every 2 weeks, because he's literally not available for any other day, whereas Captain Marvel is available for 2 days, of course. So obviously this is suboptimal. Let me make that clear first of all. This is a suboptimal decision, because rather than giving him the CTP of Rage, if I just gave it to Captain Marvel, she can cap 2 million on the male, on the regular Universal Hero Day, which is today, and then next week she can also cap on the female Universal Day, which Thor is not eligible for because he never got that Jane Foster uniform. So this is definitely suboptimal. But secondly, it does highlight the advantage, even with an unoptimized build. Remember, I can still push my crit damage probably up to like 185. So I'm missing potentially another 10 to 15% crit damage. But this proves that the CTP of Rage is especially good in ABX, when you're trying to just maximize your score, it's especially good for characters who don't have a suitable rotation with one heavy damage skill. Now, Thor does do a lot of damage with his 5th skill, Force of the Thunder God, but he also does respectable damage with Raging Storm, his 4th skill, and his 3rd skill, Call the Lightning. He has some decent damage kind of spread out. But because he doesn't have any one mega bomb skill like Cable, like Sharon Rogers with her tier 3 skill, like some of these characters, Captain America with his tier 3 skill, the CTP of Rage is much more beneficial because you're allowed to just spam. And when you're allowed to spam because you don't have to time those procs, then you get more tier 3 skills off. That was the most Thunder Blows that I've ever done on the Frost Beast in ABX because I didn't have to worry about when the 5th skill was going to land, and I didn't have to stand there, because a lot of times you'll see with regular Thor ABX gameplay, you do the 3rd skill and then you kind of just twitch around the beast waiting for the proc to activate and buff the next skill, and then you do 5 and he raises up into the sky. But in this case, I was just going like a mad dog, pressing, you know, all of the skills. Of course, I'm still pressing them in correct combinations to dodge the meteors, because you don't want to get stunned and you don't want to take damage, and also to dodge the Frost Beast because he applies a blind. And I did get blinded once, so I could definitely score even higher if I replayed that. He could probably score at least 2.2, 2.3 with the CTP of Rage. Now, is this the best option? Of course not. I already mentioned Captain Marvel is the best option, and rather than having to build 2 characters for 2 different days, you just build 1 character for both days. But I was honestly more than anything curious, and I wanted to give Thor one last hurrah because, man, Thor just, maybe not one last hurrah. I actually have one more video planned for Thor. Let me know if you guys want to see that, but I just wanted to give Thor a bit of shine, because I know everyone else in the community today is going to be talking about how good Captain Marvel is and how she obliterates Thor's score, and it's just so easy to cap 2 million today, and oh man, I'm so done with playing as Thor. Fuck no, man. I had a blast playing as Thor. I love Thor's skill animations. To be honest, I like them more than Captain Marvel's. Captain Marvel's are great, but I think her tier 3 skill just doesn't seem that cool if you don't have the SFX on, and then it's a bit harder to time things with the SFX on, so it only works if you have the CTP of Rage, because then you don't have to worry about it, because she crushes like 3 million. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think of this kind of one-off experiment. I'm probably going to unequip the CTP of Rage from Thor, but I do want to do a bit more testing depending on what your reaction is. So hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know if you want to see one more video with Thor or not. I mean, not that I'll never do another video on Thor, but, you know, in the meantime, until he gets his next big uniform, I guess, he's just going to keep slipping from the meta unless people do crazy shit like this, like what I'm doing. So let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, watch all the videos, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.